Welcome to Deadbolt Live. We are live right now, obviously. If you're with us now, welcome. This is the place to be. If you're listening to this on a podcast, make sure you get here live. This is where all the magic happens. The chat is open, so fire away with your questions. If you're listening to the recording while you missed out, uh, we are live every Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. So mark your calendar, set an alarm, and train your dog. We got a little bit of a quick sponsor shout out for Bowman Vision Media. Bowman Vision Media offers high voltage marketing for low voltage companies, which is just a fancy way of saying they make security business look amazing. From social media to video to digital advertising, Bowman Vision Media has your back. Check them out at bowmanvisionmedia.com or swing by our Deadbolt sponsor space for more details. And welcome to Deadbolt Live. We are on a different platform, and we got Josh in here already. We were able to have this live on LinkedIn as well, and we were just doing live on Deadbolt, but this is going to be able to get us more visibility. So we'll probably have some people live in LinkedIn as well as Deadbolt, and it looks like we have some people joining already.
Nice.
I would like to welcome our guest, Jon Polly. Thank you
Good
so
afternoon.
much for joining. Why don't you go ahead and tell the audience who you are, uh, your career path, and what brought you here, and what do you do now?
Just follow the bouncing ping pong ball. Good afternoon. So my name is Jon Polly. I'm owner of ProTech Solutions Partners, a security technology consulting firm. Uh, what that means, layman's terms, is I get to geek out over security tech and tell people about it. I'm working with end users, other consultants, integrators, helping them figure their technology roadmap and design out, and then we take it from there. Um, the career path. 24 years ago, I started as a police officer in a large metropolitan area in North Carolina, and was there doing really cool stuff. And then I went to go work off duty for this a large global nonprofit, and they said, "Hey, we want to bring you on board." And so I went there. Told them I was doing fine, just where I was at, and they said, "No, we want to pay you more money and give you permanent weekends off." And I went, "Okay, never mind, twist my arm." Met my wife there, and then they handed me this access control system and camera system I had never seen, and they said, "Hey, you're good with computers. This is yours. You own it." Oh my God, I had no idea what I was getting into. And 24 years later, I have done everything in security I can think. I've worked for manufacturers. I've worked as the technician in the field. I've been the project manager. I've managed an integrator. Um, and now I'm doing the consulting thing and having a blast.
Right on. And the consulting that you're working with now is
So
sorry. There we go. I had two different sounds going in my ear now. I'm trying to get used to this new platform. Sorry, guys. But your consulting thing is it's called Protect Solutions, correct?
ProTech Solutions Partners is my consulting firm. Again, started out with professional technology solutions. Um, Partners come in that I partner with other companies. I partner with my end users. It's a sole proprietor consulting firm that I'll go out and uh, find friends and find partners to solve the problems that my clients have. That way, they're not paying for ProTech to have a whole slew of W 2 employees that have to get paid. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like at this point in my career, if I had to worry about somebody else's family, I have a family of five. If I have to worry about other people's families of five, I'd just be rocking in the floor in the fetal position. So, um, my wife hates it when I say that, but at the same point, I like the ability to be sole proprietor. I do have a couple of other ventures going as well. Obviously on LinkedIn, a couple of them are new. They are joint ventures to be able to do additional service offerings. And so, the Security and Safety Alliance is one of them. Lighthouse Security is another one that's out there as well. So, uh, what's the just lost the term, the financial term where you differentiate your portfolio, right?
Oh, yeah,
Trying to
diversify.
diversify. There you go. That's what I'm trying to do, right? And so, you know, being a sole proprietor uh, it gives a lot of freedoms to do some things, and just try to
Yeah,
make sure that I can provide for my family to do it.
yeah. You're brave. I know that's kind of on my roadmap is to eventually start my own uh, thing. Why don't you? What would you tell? What kind of advice would you give, or would you say don't do it, or
No, no, no. So we jumped. So my entrepreneurship, I worked for a company for a guy. He said, "Give me 2 years and I'll teach you how to own your own company." And after just shy of 2 years, I'm like, if this is how you own your own company, I want no part of it. Fast forward 15 years, I was uh, I was in a position where I was asked to do something that, and I won't speak badly of the company, so I just won't speak. Right? No, it was unethical. I've never walked out of a company in my life. I said, "Here's the car keys. I'm done.
wow,
You don't want me to be here, and I don't need to be here." In doing so, I looked at my wife and said, "Hey, we need to. I need to find a job." And she said, "Hey, we built this consulting company. Why don't we make it work?" Um, so with all the naivety in the world of doing that, we started a business, decided to move to another city, and decided to homeschool our three boys all within about 3 months. I would absolutely do it again. I don't think I would ever do it in that time frame. Um, so with all that being said, um, for those that are starting new ventures, founding, obviously ramp up, build up, have some equity, have some clients, have some things that you can do if at all possible. That's not always possible, right? Um,
yeah,
but also getting known for, and this came from a huge piece of um, advice from somebody in the industry. Get known for what you're doing now, not what you were doing. I was
mm,
always the guy on the rooftop that the client said, "You're the guy I trust." I made the jump to consulting and nobody knew what I was doing. Nobody had an idea who Jon Polly was. My digital footprint, my LinkedIn footprint looked like a hole in the ground. Um,
yeah,
Use the tools to your advantage to make those things. And guess what? It's still going to be hard, and it's still going to have days that you're going to beat your head against the wall and go, "What in the world was I thinking?" And then you're going to have days that it's that golf shot, like you just hit it, and it's like I just drop the club and go to the beach with the family because that was the day, that was the shot, and it's not getting any better. And on the way back home, buy a lottery ticket and hope for the best.
yeah. Um, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I definitely am interested in starting my own thing, and that's good advice. Making sure that you're kind of known for what you do already. And so, what are some
I
struggles?
see some strong things happening with
Yeah.
Deadbolt Society, right? So
Yeah, no, definitely trying to get that off the ground, making that a priority. Uh, Make sure you guys, if you're listening, get on Deadbolt Society. It's free, thanks to Bowman Vision Media. um,
nice.
let's. I want to remind the audience here who is live. We do have live Q&A, and so this platform that I'm using, we're streaming to a couple different places, so I'm supposed to be able to see all comments. So hopefully that's the case. Just wanted to put that out there. Um,
I love being a guinea
we,
pig.
yeah, yeah. Sorry, John. We do have a question from Chad. I'll show it on here. Since you advise end users, what new tech do you see upcoming in 2025 that we should be watching?
Mr. CCTV fail himself. Oh gosh. So um, Chad put me on the spot, really. there's a few things that I want to see that are coming, and I'm not entirely sure they're going to make it. Right, lidar is one of them. I think that's especially in the smart city piece. Um, he's not going to want to hear that because I know where his background is. Um, from a technology standpoint, I think where I would say is instead of a an overwhelming technology, interoperability is going to be huge. That's where clients or end users are really looking for. They're looking for solutions that are real time. I don't even call them managed services pieces, but real time actionable intelligence. Right. I see that as thing. I mean, I've got an article coming out on it soon about uh, after the United Healthcare CEO was
Mm,
shot,
yeah,
a lot of companies are trying to figure out, oh crap, what do we do in that situation? Um, so I think that's a technology that's coming. Interoperability is definitely going to expand. Um, I don't know that I would say I don't know that I would say the letters AI as a technology. I think that is going to be something that's out there. The other one that I
yeah,
think that I'm hoping to see more so, and it goes back to that interoperability and digital. Well, it's digital twin. It's business intelligence pieces, but the technology I think that will get I think, or at least I hope, will get a shot in the arm is digital twins. That piece, because now uh, like a better word, you've gamified a business, right? You've now let, if we, take any video game that we can have multiple people in the same space doing their own things at the same time, and
hmm
we're interacting with each other. So normally we have silos of security cameras are in security, and facilities has HVAC, and IT has servers. What happens when we actually put all that together and we can work it together? I think that's going to be really interesting.
Sorry, my camera keeps dropping out. Let me go
So,
in airplane mode. I think that's what keeps knocking me out.
anybody else got a question on?
There we go. No, I think you made a good point with the uh, AI, the digital twin, and I also think lidar is going to be huge. It's a little bit bigger, especially because I have a question about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the deter and detect um, conversation that you had at an event, but I agree with all that. And this new technology that I'm using currently for this recording is throwing me for a loop, and I am stressed out.
It's all
The
right.
camera keeps
This is
dropping
easy.
out, and whew, okay.
So
So let's.
I'll say this real quick to Chad's piece also as well, since
Mhm.
ISC West is in a couple of weeks. That's like turning a big kid in a candy store. Like, I don't need chocolate. Just throw me in that space and hang on tight. There's
Yeah,
not a I like I need 3 more days of ISC West, and nobody needs 3 more days of ISC West. So
yeah. My first year was last. My first ISC was last year, and to go into that, that's the first time we met in person as well. And so
you won some money, I do believe, right?
I won some money. That was the ACS Quest that Leo Des put on, and you were one of the stations. So luckily I
Guinea
had you
pig.
as a friend on LinkedIn, and I messaged you and say, "Hey, where are you at? I got to take a picture with you."
Yeah,
um,
that was interesting. We I don't think that was the there was an idea of how do we get this person, how do we go meet with these folks, and as soon as you walked in that door, no cell phones worked. It was like, oh crap.
yeah, yep. So there was like three people that we had to like find on the show floor, and yeah, that was rough. That was the hardest part of the whole thing. Finding booze was okay because you download the app and you get the map of the facility, and but yeah, finding the people, finding you. I think Brittany was another one, um, and yeah,
She's
I'm
always
pretty
difficult to
sure.
find. I always text her, and she was, and for some reason she's like, "Yeah, I'm off property having lunch." I'm like, "Really? Again? This is the
Yeah,
fourth time today."
that yeah, that was her comment. Is, I'm out eating lunch. I'm like, okay, well, the thing's almost over. So when are you going to be back? But no, that was fun. I don't think he's doing it again this year, um, but he's got other things lined up to do. He's always engaged with ISC, so that's cool. We also met again at GSX.
We
Um,
did.
Met in person at
I got
Lindsay's event.
Yeah, and I got a Deadbolt Society key. That
Yeah, I got you a pin, and then you socked me.
exactly.
Yeah,
So I don't give out much swag. Being a consultant and a sole proprietor is like, what do you do? Nobody cares
right.
about a flashlight, a pen, something.
Hmm.
And so it was like, let's be really specific about what we're doing. Um, and everybody, especially when you're going to a show, you need a pair of socks, because especially a comfortable pair of socks. Um, and here's, you know, the other side of it is, if you're going to ISC West, and take this only as free advice, Dr. Schultz has this thing called achy feet mask. It seems
Mm.
weird. It will pull 14 of the 16 hours off your feet. And trust
Wow.
me, nobody cares. Like, everybody's like, ISC West hurts your feet. You know what? There is no, like, if I have to hand him a man card over that, I don't care. My feet actually don't hurt the next day, and everybody else's does.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool. And you had mentioned that these socks kind of help with that too. So I'll be
They
wearing
do.
those at ISC this year as well. So I make sure I won't take a picture of my feet and send it to you. But
I'd appreciate that. That was a
yeah,
that
yeah.
was a weird outtake of going, oh, that was, I did not think that all the way through.
Josh, I believe Josh Bowman. It doesn't show last names, but he has a question as well. I'll show it on the screen. How do you review new products to decide if they are worth suggesting?
um, so I hold court every week, every day, it seems like, with new technology. So some of them are customer driven.
Hmm.
What I will say, and I've said it publicly many times, is the best technology in the world for the wrong use case is the wrong technology. What's the use case? Let's go find the technology that's going to be the right one. Now, my goal is that I don't want to walk into any meeting that I don't have a couple of answers to the question in my back pocket. Now, admittedly, it may not be the right answer, but at least we're not starting from, uh, you know, I have a square and I need to make a wheel, right? I have a
Hmm.
wheel. Do I need the spinning rims, or do I just get the hubcap, right? I know the direction I need to head with that. So starting from that point of view, it really becomes use case specific. And then I get to go uh, call and make friends with all the technology providers and say, hey, what can you do? What can't you do? And so, even before I even get to testing and we get to a point of, is this going to work? There's a very involved matrix and deep dive and everything else. And I think having a healthy BS meter comes with it, because there's a lot of things that folks are like, "Hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread," and I'm like, yeah, "No, maybe not."
Yeah.
There's some things that, I'll be honest. There's some things that I absolutely like. Early adopter for a lot of things, and other things that I'm just like, you know what? I'm holding back. I mean, I just started using the app on my phone for airlines. Yes, it's been out for 15 years. You So when I'm how early of an adopter do I need to be? Um,
Mm.
Now, there's technologies that I absolutely love that I won't evangelize to a client because it's not the right use case for that client, uh, until it becomes that until it becomes. So hopefully that answered.
Yeah, no, that's good. We have another question. So I'm looking at the live on LinkedIn as well. It looks like the comments are not coming over, but we got Michael Gips has a question. He'd like to hear more about lidar applications beyond smart cities, self-driving vehicles, etc.
Sure, where I'm seeing lidar a couple places is one around places where they're trying to get rid of PII concerns. So any kind of uh, anonymization of people, right? It's
Hmm.
cameras are great, but at the end of the day, they still take a picture of my face. And in terms of, there's privacy laws in 27 states now, plus you've got the EU AI Act that's changing, and that's if you're using things like facial biometrics, but even things where there's PII concerns. You're seeing some major companies that their employees are pushing back and going, "Hey, you know what? I don't want you to see my face when I walk in this building."
Yeah,
Um,
I know. I
you
know
know,
hospitals are huge on that one too.
they
They're
are, and
very against it.
being able to replace some of the existing cameras because that was the technology we had. Perimeter detection is one that's coming. This is where I really want to see it do more.
Hmm.
Part of the problems that I'm seeing is that the lidar units aren't. Um, they're designed for cold. They're not designed for really cold. Um,
Hmm.
and so same thing with the on the smart city side of things of going with equipment that's going to be housed in traffic control boxes. It's rated for 120, but the box is 145, 150, um, and or it's minus 50, right? And so we're as an industry, we're kind of missing some of the extremes of that for regular technologies.
Yeah. No, I definitely see a huge use case for the perimeter. Like, I guess we can go into it a little bit now. You were you did a talk with 7 by 24 about with data center security. And I'm huge in data center security right now, and that's probably one of the biggest. LiDAR versus radar versus thermal. Everybody's trying to figure out what's the best case, because they want to use that PTZ um, still for some reason, and kind of having that lidar with the PTZ to be able to actually zoom in on actionable events. Um, just dialing that in is hard, but I definitely see a future for that.
Yeah, there's a future. I'm working on a data center project right now. LiDAR is not the application that I can see it. Uh, we're looking at a number of technologies to address that and to automate. Right, PTZs, as you said,
Hmm.
they're what's the problem with PTZs? They never pointing where you want them to point. Right,
Yep.
they're either always on tour because you can't stop and look at something because that might be somebody's house, that might be whatever, and so now we've got to put them on tours, and we slew to queue technologies. Um, I see some, that's what I love multi sensors, right? Multi sensors allow me to see everything and point the PTZ where I want to point it when I need to point it. Same thing with some of the radar and thermals. Um, LiDAR pricing is coming down. That's also helpful
Yeah,
versus,
that's true.
with radar pricing depending on which version you're looking at, you've got something that's okay. Um,
Hmm.
Thermal pricing is not coming down. And so, depending on where you're at, it may thermals are absolutely fantastic, um, but they're pricey. Uh,
Yeah.
I will say, and this is a quick plug, and not for anybody, not for anything I'm working with, but thermal radar had when you talk about to Mike's or somebody's point, how do you pick technologies that do really cool stuff, right? Happen to be watching a demo, and they can the demo. Absolutely should have. They were walking around the perimeter showing off a thermal radar, and somebody actually broke into the site while they were doing their demo.
Oh
And
my goodness.
security was like, "Is this one of your guys?" And they're like, "No." Guy came down a railroad track with a set of fence cutters and snaps the fence. And as he's
Wow.
coming through, security had a nice forceful chat with him. Um, Now you can imagine that company's decided we're going to buy as much thermal radar as you want to throw at us at this point. But
Yeah.
that was the best. solution that I've ever seen in that application because all of a sudden it actually worked. How many demos don't work out of the box?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
So,
That's a good story. So thermal radar. That's the John Polly recommendation.
not
Is
paid
that
by
one
them.
of?
No, it is, but yeah, for the again for the use case, for the right
Yeah.
application, absolutely. Not for every application.
Yeah. What are some other things to uh, that you talked about the data center protection? What are other things that we should keep in mind for securing a data center?
Oh Lord, now you've uh,
Unleash the beast.
at least, no. I mean, we really started out with SEPTED principles, and
Hmm.
I've recently gotten gone through another SEPTED class, so I want to we wanted to bring that in as part of it, but then it was you know biometrics, right? Um, are we I saw a study the other day that 60% of the industry or folks are saying that biometrics is the next direction of our industry, which I thought was really high for what it was, but at the same point,
Mm.
interesting. Um, One of the folks that was on we talked about exterior drones and robots and data center owned technologies. And I said, that's kind of fringe. And one of the guys that was on the stage says, it is. And oh, by the way, we have 7 of them on the exterior of the building and the interior of the data center. I was like, oh, that's an early adoption, to say the least. Um, we've, I think one of the conversations that's happening with everybody right now, whether it should or shouldn't, I'll hold that thought to myself, mobile credential, right? This being a credential.
Hmm.
Um, we graduate 4 million students a year from college in the US. Apple pulled a page from the MacBook playbook and said, let's give college students MacBooks dirt cheap. And when they graduate college, they're going to go to the Googles of the world, the whoever's of
Yeah.
the world, and they're going to say, oh, I've never used a Lenovo or a Dell or Microsoft anything. I need a MacBook.
Hmm. Yep.
And they say, no, 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 you have to do this. Well, I'm not going to work here. Every major house today carries MacBooks as one of the options that you can get as an employee. Um,
Yeah.
we gave them technology dirt cheap and or free. They got used to using it. Now we're giving them this. They're used to using this at a college campus, and then they go out into the real world. And pardon my saying it, that, and they go, "You're going to give me a badge? That's not going to work."
Yeah.
I'm not going to carry that around. I carry one thing. It's got my wallet. It's got my driver's license, which we can get into that scariness.
That
That's a
that's going on
non-early
an Apple
adopter.
Wallet too. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you want to get your digital license? Here's the XCOP. Here, let me unlock my phone and hand it to you. Oh, I just gave you
Mm.
consent to go look at anything on my phone. Maybe that's not the greatest plan, but uh,
Yeah.
some folks will probably go conspiracy theory, John. But this is where this is driving. So right now, there's 3% of the industry that has adopted mobile credential. It's driving 75% of the conversations, if not more.
Yeah.
Data centers will probably be some of uh, the latter ones to adopt it, only because of the critical nature of some of the things. At the same point, it's happening, right? There's a sustainability piece that companies are looking at. I worked with one, and they were very interested in it until the employees said, "Hey, if you want me to put that on my phone, you have to give me a new phone." Um,
You
no,
have to pay
that's
for
not
my
going to
phone.
work.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
pay for my phone. Otherwise, it's a bring your own device application. So either they funded them, or gave them a new phone, or it didn't happen. Now, I
Hmm.
think co- companies are also finding that people who were opposed to it are now going, "Hey, I have Starbucks, I have my flights, I have everything in the wallet.
Right.
let's go with this idea. So it's picking up adoption to say the least. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about that. Yeah, even to and then we got into some really cool things with, how are we securing the actual servers themselves? And I worked on a project where they said, hey, we want to do something with a ballistic, or not a ballistic, but an impact rated um, cabinet. And oh, by the way, it can't use the cam lock that we've always used because we defeated that cam lock in under a minute.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, actually, it's really, really fast. And so I remember with that client, I said, "Hey, do you mind if I bring something to you out of the box? A little bit outside the panel, right? Hashtag you
Mm-hmm.
use on LinkedIn is think outside the panel." Um, and they said, "Sure." So I went back to those smart city routes, and I said, "Hey, let's pull a traffic cabinet, traffic control box that sits at every intersection. It's California's standard box. You can buy it from
Yeah.
14 different vendors, but it's a network cabinet with power and lights." Um, they looked at it and admittedly said it looks ugly. It does. But what for a data center? It does. I said I
Yeah.
want you to go beat on it. I want you to try to get into it. Um, they did their due diligence and
Yeah.
never got in. It's like
That's
if
definitely
that's the
thinking
use
outside the
case,
panel. Yeah.
if that's the use case, absolutely.
Yeah, because those suckers are made, vandal resistant. They're right there on the street. Yeah,
I have
definitely.
I have literally picked them up after a vehicle hit them at 65 mile an hour. We knocked the bolts off the bottom of them, stuck it back in the ground, and called it done. Um,
Wow.
it was funny actually during the testing phase. Folks were like, "It looks ugly. It's all this other stuff, but we like it because it's quieter than the racks that we have. Because of all, it had airflow going into it. It had everything in it. But once you closed the door, you couldn't hear any of the servers." And the guy was like, "This
Wow.
is the first time that I've been able to think at the office for like 3 years."
I'm gonna have to look into that. That's a great tip. Traffic control enclosures. I'll
But
look into
you
that.
so and with those, um, is where the transportation industry is heading. Is that Assa Abloy and Genetec co-built a lock. It's a 630 REL lock. Um,
Hmm.
the lock that is traditionally shipped on those cabinets is a Corbin cabinet lock number two um, lock. It was built in 1974. Every traffic cabinet in the U.S. has been shipped with that lock since 1974. You can go on eBay and buy the
Wow.
key for $8. Now imagine what you can do with an $8 key and opening the door of that cabinet, right?
Yeah.
I won't draw the map, but at the same point, it's the fact that now somebody has come out with an electrified version of that lock that uh, you can secure that thing using traditional access control
Hmm. With mobile credential.
with we mobile credential and biometric. Because at the end
Wow.
of the day, it's just a lock.
Yeah.
You can put whatever reader you want on it.
Right on. Uh, kind of going to the, keeping on the same avenue of, the college students getting used to something and, moving into the workforce. And Chad has a question. Um, what do you think the real language engine search is the next way to search video? So I
I
feel
think
like,
it's a natural. I
kind
think
of
it's a natural progression. There's a
yeah.
couple companies out there doing it now. There's, um, yes, I think it's a natural progression that we're heading to. That says, I want to see the person in the red shirt or the red hoodie that came out of the black Jeep somewhere around this
Yeah.
time, and you're giving all the descriptive words, but you're not saying red this like you're not
Hmm.
jumping through all of it. You're writing a one sentence thing, and the AI or the LLM, and I think so. Think of AI as what I'm thinking of is when I say AI, I think that especially that camera analytics, good, bad, and otherwise. When we think AI, because
Hmm.
I know some folks that will absolutely argue with me as to what's AI and what's not, and I don't disagree with them. is it people detection, things like that, things that are happening automatically versus an LLM that's building the workflows based on the information you fed it, right? Not just here's an analytic and we trained it to only look at uh, red cars driving this direction, right?
Yeah.
That's an analytic. That is AI. That is a computer trained model, whereas a LLM is getting information fed into it that says my SOP says that I need to jump 6 inches in the air, and I need to turn around, and I need to do a jumping jack and lay down on the floor. And if I don't do any of that stuff, then something over here happens, right?
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's that's a workflow direction, but at the same point, those are things that are also making some big waves.
Yeah. Yep. And Josh has a question. Do you see mobile access credentials being acceptable for FedGov? That's a great question because I know they're
Me
they're definitely the
personally,
slowest at accepting.
me personally, not. Um, what is it? We're in 2025. Not in the next 5 years. No, it's going to things are going to drive adoption, right? Um, Here's what I look at is from the 1950s to 2004, we did some really cool innovations, radio, TV, uh,
Hmm.
all of that, right? Then they came out. I'm gonna point back. This was released in 2004 uh, by Apple, and it
Yeah.
changed the landscape. We've innovated faster in the last 15 years. Well, up until 2022, we innovated faster in the last 15 years than we had the last 50 before it. 2022, November 2022, OpenAI releases this thing called ChatGPT, and the AI monster is released. And we have innovated faster in the last 2 years than we have in the last 15 before that. So,
Hmm.
will FedGov jump on board? Um, I don't see it over the next few years, but that's, you know, I've been
Yeah.
proven wrong before.
No, I mean they're definitely slow. I'm surprised they're probably not even on OSTP yet, so they got some catching up to do.
Um,
Uh, I was gonna kind of change direction here. So I was kind of curious. Do you want to talk a little bit more about early in the conversation you were talking about the different your diversification. Um,
sure.
uh, you want to talk a little bit about the Security and Safety Alliance? Tell the audience what that's all about.
Sure. So that is a joint venture with Charles Johnson and myself and uh, Elizabeth Dunn. Folks have been in and around the industry. Quite honestly, it's around there's a new law in Florida around SEPTED that
Right.
multifamily has to be assessed as of January 1st, 2025. Hey, by the way, we're late. Um, 1.2 million properties, and only 73 people today are certified to do that.
Wow.
I am not one of those. I will have mine soon. And so, uh, if you were to take that number, if a person were to really like going to Florida, and no offense, I don't, but although that seems to be where all the conferences are held, um, you could in effect do 156 a year. Um, at 1.2 million, there's room for growth, right? And so that was a way for us to be able to offer additional services to clients, not just through ProTech, not just through
Hmm.
Charles' company, NGA Security Consultants, and Hamilton Gardner. It was a way to be able to offer um, a joint venture and again additional services.
Wow. Do you see this that new law in Florida kind of being adopted in other states?
I can tell you that my understanding is currently being looked at in at least three states, and maybe four, and it's being looked at very heavily. Um,
Wow.
Now, it's interesting because NICP teaches the class, but if you're not in the Florida class with the Attorney General's representative, you don't get Florida certified. So you can be
Mm.
NICP certified and be fully SEPTED certified in every state, except you can't do multifamily in Florida unless you go attend that class.
Wow.
So interesting. And you know, if you don't care about doing multifamily in Florida, um, and you just want to be SEPTED certified, NICP has a application, and it's a I think it's an online class, which makes it easy to do. The in person class, you're doing physical assessments. You're actually going out as part of the class to uh, and a bunch of teamwork. So
Mm. I mean, we are going to get, a little bit more into Septed here in the next few live streams because I got Terry Conlon. I don't know if you know him, coming in a couple
he,
weeks.
I know of him, and yes, he will. I think somebody referred to him as Mr. Septet. So yes, I believe
Yeah.
he will speak heavily on Septet. So, and I've been around Septet since police department. Right? It's not a new concept, but
Right.
at the same point, um, this is something very unique to Florida, but it's mindful, right? I remember police department driving through and going, "Hey, that stop and rob's got a better chance of being robbed because I can't see in the windows."
Mm.
Simple things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Septet always comes up for me when friends of mine, their kids are heading to college, and they're like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "Well, okay, easy one is like, I'll tell them if you've got a ground floor." Um, uh, like if you've got a house, you've got a ground floor master bedroom, put holly bushes up in front of it. People don't
Yeah.
like to go through things like that. If you've got a daughter that's going to college, tell her to go out uh, um, the thrift store and find the biggest pair of muddy boots she can find, size 22, 27. Like Shaq lives there, right? Um,
Just put him out on
and
the front door.
put them by the front door because whoever's
Nice.
trying to come in that door, they're going to stop and see that.
Hmm.
The other one is put out a Rottweiler bowl, something that says, "I got a big dog and a big guy that lives in this house. You're not coming in." Hey, she
And
may
then
live there by herself, but trust me, nobody's going through that door.
put a sign up that says "Gone hunting." Chad has a question. Is Florida SEPTED the gold standard certification? So are you able to get certified there? And it's, it'd be good for the
Yeah.
other
So
states.
NICP, in terms of where things are at, NICP it is valid in 49 states, if you will, for multifamily.
Hmm.
Florida's is valid in 50 states.
Got it.
Whether that will stay for the duration with some of these other states coming in, will they create and say, "Oh, you got to be, certified through our attorney general, whatever"? I believe that with Florida being first, and there's already folks that are doing this, they will probably have at least some sort of reciprocity agreement.
Mm. Yeah. That's definitely an interesting avenue to go because I kind of come from the technology side. And, I didn't really know anything about SEPTED until I went to go take my PSP exam. And that was one of the things I'm like, oh, I haven't any idea anything about this. So I definitely had to read up on it. But it definitely makes sense to, you know, deter just environmentally and making sure, you know, you have visibility, even small things with like at schools where the front desk can see the front door. It's things that you don't think about, but it definitely makes a difference.
It does make a difference. And, it's funny. We were sitting in the class, and I'm a technology geek, and they're like, and technology has no part of SEPTED. I'm almost like, oh, knife through the heart. Like, I get it. Um, I love the fact you brought up PSP because I got mine. Um, if folks are going for that, I absolutely think you need certification. Love the fact that there's certification and through as is. I know Michael Gibbs is on. To the as is folks, I've said it to you before, and I'm going to say it again. Please, please, please update it from 2008. We do not pull analog cable as a standard anymore. Cybersecurity is a thing,
Yeah,
and dummy cameras are bad.
I think
Let's
they're
just
working on it
assume
because
them.
I got an email about being on the board or something to help update it. So I think they're
Good.
working on
I've been told they've been updating it for the last 5 years, so I'm just hoping that
it.
it moves along. So
Eventually, it'll happen. But yeah, that's a good point. We don't pull analog anymore, and also we need to update. CCTV. We need to stop using that
yeah, yeah, yes. It's sensors, right? It's when we talk IoT, we're no longer talking about a camera. It's an optical IoT sensor
one.
that's capturing data at 15 to 30 frames a second, and going back to that business intelligence and the digital twin piece. We have technologies in the security department that are doing really cool things and capturing lots of data, and companies are looking for that data to be utilized in other ways, right? I love the story. I wish it was mine. It's not. It's a casino out in the Midwest that their security department was sitting in a meeting with HR and marketing. HR says our people aren't getting to where they're supposed to be, and marketing says nobody's going to our big ticket items. Security says, hey, we can fix that.
Yeah.
And so, with a budget of $2 million, gates, guards, and guns, they installed a couple of cameras in key areas running heat map analytics, right? What did they find? Well, the big ticket items that weren't being used were in the wrong space, but the
Mm.
small ticket items were directly in the path of movement for all the casino's folks. And so they had to wiggle their way around the casino floor. And they said, okay, move your big ticket item here, move those over there, and
Yeah.
create this pathway straight through, which everybody got to work on time. They started showing up early, and the casinos started making money off the big ticket item. So
Mm.
today, that casino shares, the HR marketing shares a $50 million budget for new cameras every year, camera
Wow.
storage, all that. Security
Because they sell
still
the
only
value.
has
Yeah.
Security still only has $2 million, gates, guards, and guns, but they get $50 million worth of cameras every year. What they've started doing is they started selling services internally to other stakeholders. It says,
Mm.
listen, we have the data, we have the things that create data. How how important is that data to you? And do you want can we share this data with you internally? Oh, by the way, maybe there's some cost share. Maybe you can help us pay for this because we don't have the budget, right? HR has way more budget than security ever will. Um,
Yeah.
another one I think I heard was well, I know I heard was Microsoft. Their GSOC got soft dollars. They didn't get credit. They didn't get money. But every time they showed their GSOC, if it made a difference to the sell, they got a nod that said, "Hey, you helped." To the tune of one of the first year, second or third year they did it, they were in the positive about $100 million worth of soft dollars internally, saying you've helped us close this many deals just by showing your GSOC off, right?
Wow.
And so we think about GSOCs not only as operational centers as they absolutely have to be, but they
Hmm.
are also business showpieces. At the end of the day, it's a video wall with a bunch of people running around. Depending on which day it is, it may be with their hair on fire, but you have a picture window in the conference room overlooking this now because it makes as much money as it costs to build it.
Yeah. I mean, even another case that I heard one of these demos. I think it was Brief Cam, where they uh, millions of dollars was saved just by uh, heat mapping where the traffic was, where people use the restrooms, and okay, we don't need to clean this half of the building because it wasn't used, and so they saved a huge amount of money on just
So
cleaning costs.
I had a client that I did a deep dive on uh, building occupancy systems and also a deep dive on bathroom technology, not the
Mm.
security technology I normally would go for, right? But that was their use case. One of the things I found out about it was at DFW Airport, they have 17 different pieces of smart technologies in every one of their bathrooms. What that has done is it saves them every year. Every one of those bathrooms saves them $80,000 a bathroom a year, based over what they had originally. tells you that they were visiting the bathrooms a lot and cleaning, which was great. But at the same
Yeah.
point, they were cleaning things that were already clean. And so they went
Mm,
back and said, wait a minute, we can save $80,000 a bathroom. I don't know how many bathrooms are in DFW Airport.
a
Um,
lot.
a lot. It's a city in and of itself.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to look at the ceiling to see what kind of technology he's got up there because that's my go-to airport here locally. So
I will tell you, it's the toilet paper dispensers, it's the soap dispensers, the flush
really,
valves, the torque flush valves on the toilets. Every time you flush it, it actually sends a wireless signal back and says, I've been flushed, and so they know how many times it's been flushed, how many times somebody's washed their hands. They can tell you how many people are in the bathroom, have entered the bathroom, and by the fact, if I count the number of people that are in the bathroom and the number of people who use the soap, and those numbers aren't off
that's
are
not good.
off, gross, happens a
Make
lot.
sure you clean the
Apparently.
doorknobs on that
Oh
one. Yeah.
gosh! There's a lot of technology you won't see. And by the way, I've been to the bathrooms at DFW, and I'm like, all right, wow, oh, there's a sensor. Oh, there. So they've got some of them quite well hidden.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, just having little sensors in those things, helps cleaning costs.
And
Um,
the downside with, I'll say this real quick, talking sensors and look at, I have three kids, 17, 14, 12. They now walk into restaurants and they start looking around the cameras. I'm like, really? Everybody's going to take your case in the joint. But they walk into
well,
buildings because that's what I do. And they're like, oh, I see a camera there. Oh, hey, Dad, did you get that one over there? No, never mind.
I'm gonna have to get you a Deadbolt shirt then because um, I made a design that says "easily distracted by cameras."
Yes.
So I'll get you one of those. Um, another question came through. Do you think there will be enough independent consultants in the future, or do you see enough young talent to fill a gap as the current generation starts to retire?
Oh, gosh. No, I don't think there's going to be enough independent consultants. I don't think there's enough today. I think you
Mm,
have a lot of big houses, and nothing against the big houses, but they are and they're churning through a lot of good talent. The young coming up in our industry, we everybody I trained is no longer in the industry. Um,
wow.
I don't know. That's just a nature of the security integrator industry. Is they young talent hasn't been trained, and then keeping them around is difficult.
Yeah.
I think from a young from a consultant standpoint, I remember somebody saying at one point, "Oh, the best consultants is a drafter. They know where to put things on a drawing." You're absolutely right. They do know how to put stuff on a drawing. My question is, and I've always said this: I'm a practitioner of security. I've lived it. I breathed it. Do I put a device on the wall because that's where it goes, or do I take into account that the fact that that wall is plaster and wire mesh and 14 feet worth of concrete to get there, and I need to go do something else, right? Putting it on a
Yeah.
drawing says yes, it goes there. That's where it goes every time until it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I think our industry absolutely needs to be looking at um, raising up new talent. I'll hand it to the ASIS group here in South Carolina. They actually went to work with the local trade school who already had a cybersecurity program and an electrical program. They've now made a low voltage, 2 year low voltage program. But admittedly, they've said it's 3 years to get it implemented. But in the process, we'll start doing a certificate program that at the end of your certificate program, you know, you take the 2 year, the 3 year, whatever, that will turn into your associate's degree. And just like a journeyman
Mm,
program, they're actually working with some of the integrators in the space in the state. It's been trial run in one in out of Charleston, and once it gets it through its 3 year whatever, it'll be available at every trade school uh, as part of their alliance within South Carolina. Can it be taken
wow.
from somewhere else? And so now you're seeing folks try to grow the industry, but that we have a bad reputation of not growing new people up. Um, Partly because I think integrators are scared to lose people,
Yeah.
and partly because we are just too busy to stop and say, "Hey, we need to train somebody on how to use a multimeter."
Yeah, no, I agree. That's been kind of a topic that we've had for the past few live streams is the lack of training, the lack of public knowledge about the industry, and I know there's a big push for kids to start looking into trade schools, not going into debt and going to a 4 year. And I think
Well,
trying to get our name out there as one of those viable options is important.
it is, but let's look at this, right? The kids coming out of college, what do they, and a college graduate, right? But at the same point, what does that mean? It means I'm trainable, I'm teachable. The
Mm-hmm.
problem that the Googles and Amazons of the world had was the kids were coming out of college, getting hired by Amazon and Google, and did not know anything about the systems because
Yeah.
they were 4 year college taught by somebody who had been, that was 8 years before that. So it's 12 years worth of technology changes
Mm-hmm.
since the time that professor last laid their hands on it potentially to the time that they get out of college. And so, as we said before, we've innovated faster than that. And so I don't have 12 years to wait around. So now you're seeing Google has come out and some of these other ones with certificate programs. It's an 18-month in-depth program. You get, at the end of it, you'll make this amount of money. Maybe it's, what you would make coming out of college, maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's only 18 months, and you will be placed somewhere. It might be Alaska. You may not want to go there, but you'll get placed. And so a lot of here's an opportunity that says we can do this and make money, and I'm not 4 years into college learning something that's 8 years older than I got into college with, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's huge. I definitely want to. I'll ping you after this to see what kind of who's doing it, what trade school you said as is doing it
The
locally.
local as is chapter, as is 181 chapter out of Charleston is
Yeah,
started.
because I know the vision for Deadbolt is to be a resource for that kind of stuff and training and kind of reaching the next generation. You know, uh, so definitely want to be involved with that, and I'd love to hear more about it. Um, Before we end, I have one final question. Um, where do you see the security industry? What does it look like to you over the next 10 years?
You know, I love this question, in only in the terms of let's look like at our last 10 years, right? 10 years ago, Sony cameras was the number one camera brand in the industry.
Hmm.
GE was the number one alarm panel and had an access control system that was enterprise called Linnell. Uh, and, we didn't have things like NDAA and some of those things. Where are we at 10 years from now? I wish I could tell you. I think you're going to see innovation that we haven't even thought of yet. I
Yeah.
think you're going to see um, some major companies that we hold near and dear and true that will never be acquired will be acquired. I see that from the integrator standpoint. Um, strap on your big boy britches, guys, because I think the IT companies are going to start coming in.
Yeah.
They're going to buy a handful of integrators who are network savvy, who have the alarm licenses in the certain states that they have to do.
Hmm.
IT departments have been doing IoT sensors for 15 years. They've been
Yeah.
doing cloud for the last 12, and we still have. I love the article. It's still a little bit old. 2022, Zippia had an article. 94% of companies globally, not global companies, companies globally use the cloud in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? Security Business Magazine's end of the year report 2 years ago, 28% of security integrators have an RMR strategy. That's including cloud and everything else of at
It
least
should be way
50%,
more than that.
of at least 50% of their business, of at least 50%. If you get down to the at least 12%, 12, 15%, it's up over 50%. 28% of our industry has a RMR strategy of 50%. 94% of the world is here. We're here. There's a delta that we're not even touching yet. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
IT departments and integrators, they're doing this all day long. So I tell a lot of I can't tell you how many technologies that I've talked with that they're like, oh, we're cloud, we're AWS, we're great. Who are you selling to? Security industry. Great. How's that working out? It sucks. Nobody's buying. Nobody's adopting. I said, yeah. Are you going to the IT department? Are you going to see the IT vendors? And I am staunchly defensive of the security industry, but at the same point, I want to see good technologies survive. And
Right.
they're like, no, we haven't thought of going to the IT. I'm like, go to IT vendors, go show them what you can do. And I can point somebody that's on this call right now with his new role that they have gone to the IT vendors. And guess what?
Yep.
Their evaluation is skyrocketed right now because they went outside the traditional industry and said, we've got a cloud
I think it's
solution and
like
we can sell it.
2 billion at this point. Yeah.
I don't know, 14 billion. I don't know. Next week it'll
Yeah.
be 18 billion.
Yeah.
It's time for him to ask for a pay raise. He's only been,
but
what, 3 weeks?
but I agree. We need to catch up, or otherwise we're going to get taken up into it. And yeah, especially I also we have this the thing that came out a couple weeks ago, the quantum computing chip. So that's just going to change the whole atmosphere here in the next few years. I bet.
It is. It's still who's got the big enough power. Who's got enough power supply for it? Who's got a cooling
Right.
supply for it? There, but I mean, let's also look at it like this. Some of the data centers are now implementing micro nuclear reactors, which
Mm-hmm.
on one hand I can look at it and go, "That's really cool," and on the other hand, I'm going, "It's the Simpsons and the Three-Eyed Fish." Like it's coming because something at a micro scale is going to melt down, but
Mm-hmm.
it's being deployed now. And so if I can create cooling and power for these things exponentially, it's just a matter of time. And I don't think that's a 10-year deal. I think that's probably 4 or 5. Which, if
Oh,
that's the
yep.
case, you can throw cybersecurity out the window. You can kind of throw pretty much everything else out the window, and we'll just stand there and welcome the Terminators. No, just
Yep.
completely
That'll be
kidding.
the end. That'll be the end. Yep. All right. Well, I think we're out of time. I really appreciate it, John. It was a very good conversation. A lot of good points made and topics
Oh,
covered.
I had a blast.
Yeah. No, thank you. And thanks to the audience for the live chat and the questions. Always helps and always throws John for a loop because he's not prepared.
That's all right. If you aren't following me on LinkedIn, please do.
Yep.
Um, some really cool things coming out about ISC West. I'm going to give a plug that we are doing myself and Chris Wilson are doing a wine and security event
Oh, yes.
for
Yeah.
the second time. We missed last year. We're doing it this year. We have sponsors, looking for more sponsors for next year. Again, selfish plug. But it is around education and around wine. And so we're actually having a sommelier give education around wine. It's going to be networking elevated. So the pitch is it's not loud music and cheap liquor. We'll let somebody else hold that. It's going to be decision makers and influencers having a conversation around an impeccable glass of wine. Um, you can find me on LinkedIn. Give me a DM for that. We've got sponsors that are giving out their tickets, so pushing hard on that.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I almost missed that. That was on the list to cover, but good thing you got in there. And
Take a quick
tune
chat.
us tune in next Tuesday for another live stream. We got Josh Bowman next week, and then next Friday we have another Deadbolt roundtable. We'll be using the same platform, so hopefully I can get used to it a little bit better the next few times. So thanks again, John, and thanks, chat. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye bye.